All right, Adam, we ready to roll?
Yes. Can you hear me right now?
Yeah.
Great. Everybody, thank you for coming to our second Conserve Utah Valley Town Hall meeting. It's great to have you all here. It's great to see a lot of people that I recognize and some that I don't too. Today's town hall is focused around Slate Canyon. So to kind of give a preface or an introduction to that, we're going to start off with a poll. So I'm going to launch a poll right now, and I just love you if you could answer how you've used Slate Canyon in the past, or if you haven't been, you can also mark that. So I'll go ahead and launch that right now and give you about 30 seconds to answer. Awesome. We'll give it a few more seconds. All right, I'm going to go ahead and share those results with you. You should be able to see on your screen popped up the results of this. I think it's really cool. Slate Canyon's a total treasure of Conserve Utah Valley. As you can see, it's used for hiking, biking, access to the Shoreline Trail. I was hiking up there just the other day, and there's beautiful nature all around. And if you're one of those 17% that haven't been, I encourage you to get up there in the next few weeks. And it's just right around that time where everything's melting off, and I guarantee you'll enjoy it. So we're going to be talking more about this over the meeting today. But before we introduce the people that we have joining us and the people that will be speaking today, I'm going to turn some time over to our Executive Director, Craig Christensen, who will be introducing Conserve Utah Valley and what we hope to be able to accomplish in this meeting. Craig.
Great. Thank you very much. Delighted to have you all with us. Thank you for muting your microphone. It's going to make it a little bit easier for us to communicate. Just delighted to have you with us. This is our second town hall. Conserve Utah Valley is a nonprofit organization organized to prevent another surprise Bridal Veil Falls. Here's our vision. It's very simple. We do one thing. We conserve land and water forever. And this town hall is really designed to help get people on the same page in terms of the things that are happening in the critical development that's happening in our valley. We have a common challenge. The challenge is to prevent overdevelopment of trails, of open space, farmland, wildlife areas in our canyons and waterways amid a tidal wave of population growth that's coming. As our valley doubles in population in the next 20 to 30 years, here's the question. Will we lose the natural beauty that we take for granted? And that's what we really want to address. We are not political. We're not Democrats, we're not Republicans. We don't get involved in politics. We get involved in bringing people together in a common cause of saving what makes our valley beautiful. So the call to action tonight, as we finish up this town hall in a bit, is to encourage you to become part of the Conserve Utah Valley solution. We see our responsibility for all of Utah Valley. Now we're starting with Provo. For those of you who might be outside of Provo, we actually see our responsibility for all of Utah Valley. And the big idea is that we're building the infrastructure so that neighbors can do two things. One is become educated on conservation issues that are critical, like Bridal Veil Falls was. And two, to speak up about issues that are important to them and be heard. So organizing the neighbors on the streets of Provo is kind of like laying fiber optic cable directly into city and county policy and political decision-making environments. Because here's the reality. If we wait until you need high-speed input on critical decisions, it will be too late. So we want to be able to provide our city and county government policymakers with input on the important decisions that they're wrestling with. They want our feedback. We want to be able to give it to them in a way that's helpful and brings the valley together. Here's what you need to know about Conserve Utah Valley. There's a huge need. There are very real threats like Bridal Veil Falls, and most of them we don't even know about. And we can't just take for granted that the next time we'll have advance notice. This is not a one and done group. We believe that our task and our purpose will go on for decades, and we're ready for that task. What we need is the grassroots organization of neighbors that can act quickly to help pass information both to the public and back to policy and decision makers. So let's create a united voice together before it's too late. We need transparency from our politicians and policymakers, and they need to hear from those who live here. So tonight we're asking you to consider becoming a member and becoming a part of what Conserve Utah Valley is all about. Delighted to have a couple of people with us this evening that are here to share some of their thoughts, specifically focused on Slate Canyon. So Adam, let me turn it back to you.
Thanks, Craig. I really appreciate that. Before I go on and introduce our speakers, I'd like to ask for your help. So first off, I'd like to request that everyone stay muted throughout the meeting. As our speakers share with you, you'll likely have questions, and we hope that you do. But please hold those questions off till the question and answer section at the end. You can feel free to send those to me. I'm Adam Johnson in the chat, and then I'll moderate you through the question and answer section, and I'll give you an opportunity to share that question. But just so it's nice and clean and smooth, we ask you that you'll send those to me, and then I'll give you an opportunity at the end to ask any questions that you might have. But to kind of give you a layout for how the rest of this meeting goes, first we're going to be hearing from George Hanley. George Hanley is a member of Conserve Utah Valley, a street rep, and he's also a city councilman here in Provo City. He's going to be speaking to us a little bit about this city's relationship to Slate Canyon, what recently has been done to improve Slate Canyon, and then also any other relevant background. From there, we'll turn the time over to Shannon Ellsworth, another member of Conserve Utah Valley and also a city councilwoman here in Provo. She's going to be speaking to us about her love for Slate Canyon, her vision for the future of Slate Canyon, and then also what we can do to help. Following Shannon, we'll turn the time over to Christine Davis. She's a longtime conservationist here in Utah Valley, a professor and a street rep for Slate Canyon. And she'll be talking to us about upcoming events in Slate Canyon for Earth Day, and giving us a small presentation on that. Following that, we'll turn the time back over to Craig, who will wrap us up and give us some calls to action. But with that, we'd like to turn the time over to George.
All right, thank you, Adam and Craig, for putting this together and for the opportunity to share a few thoughts. We have a number of representatives from the city who can maybe answer some questions that might arise, but I can do my best to describe some of the previous history with Slate Canyon. I will say that I used to live at the mouth of Slate Canyon, lived there for 5 years before moving north to the mouth of Rock Canyon, and I don't have a preferred canyon between the two. I love them both. In fact, I think I prefer Slate Canyon because it's less crowded. And, even though we would love to see people using it, I'm glad that it's so steep that it discourages a lot of people, and so that it's a little more quiet. But I've always commented on the fact that Slate Canyon is every bit as beautiful as Rock Canyon. And maybe because it's so much quieter than Rock Canyon, it has some very special qualities to it. But I always, when I was first moved to Provo and started to enjoy Slate Canyon right there at the mouth of the canyon and going straight up, I noticed immediately that it was, this was back, I moved here in 1998, and I noticed just how poorly taken care of it seemed. I mean, the gate had bullet holes in it, and it seemed like there were large tires sticking up from the ground and sofas sitting around in random places, and it looked like it had been neglected. And of course, the trails kind of running north and south were also a bit of a mess. So I've seen the progress that's been made there over the years, and I'm very grateful for it. My understanding was that in 2012, Provo City committed to a master plan for Slate Canyon to improve the trailhead area. And that eventually led to the purchase of some acreage just to the north of the mouth of the canyon. And as these master plans go, I know because I've also been involved in the master plan for Rock Canyon, which is still also unfinished and not yet fully funded. There are phases to these kinds of plans that take, unfortunately, longer than all of us would like, because money is short and there are many demands throughout the city, and Parks and Rec have a lot of projects to have to juggle. But as in the case of Rock Canyon, here in Slate Canyon, there's a real opportunity for partnership with citizens who are eager to help, because I know, for example, that portions of the Rock Canyon Master Plan have already been moved a little bit forward by citizen volunteer work. Things that would have cost the city more money than they had, they were able to move forward because citizens organized some efforts in collaboration with the city, who provided all the tools and so on. And so I envision similar things happening with Slate Canyon. There are several issues regarding the master plan that people have asked questions about. The promise of tennis courts on top of the water tanks, and there have been some problems with the surface there. And there are still some pressing financial needs. And in recent conversations that Shannon and I had with Parks and Rec, they were extremely supportive and very eager to help, and interested in potentially engaging in a revision of the master plan, maybe rethinking some of the decisions that had been made now close to 10 years ago, and deciding whether or not the citizens wanted some revisions to be made to that plan. So I think there's great hope that we can move this forward. We've on the council, we've heard a lot from citizens about their concern for this canyon. And all I can say is that I know that on the council, we share that concern. And Bill Fillmore, who I think I saw here, he has a son who lives right in the area, so I know he knows the area well. And whether or not we live in the area, the bottom line is the entire foothills area, and especially the two gems of canyons that we have right here in the city, Rock Canyon and Slate Canyon, are two of our most important assets as a community. And we stand committed in the city with the citizens to find the best solutions and to expedite the process to get the improvements that are needed there, so that we can continue to enjoy it. It's a sacred spot for me, because I broke my collarbone and knocked myself out and cracked my bike helmet right at the mouth of Slate Canyon one day, as I was looking out over the beautiful canyon, or beautiful valley below, and I was just enjoying that deep, steep slide down into Slate Canyon. And all of a sudden, I looked down and saw that some kids had built a jump there on the trail, and didn't have any time to react. The last thing I remember was being up in the air above my bike and thinking that this was going to hurt. So I had EMTs arrive to me on the Bonneville shoreline and rescued me. And so it's a person it means a lot to me. I love the place, and I'm fully committed to doing whatever we can to make it better than it is, and better for future generations.
Okay. Is it my turn, Adam?
It's your turn.
Okay.
Yes, thank you, George. Shannon, we'll turn the time over to you.
Thanks,
We're
George.
thinking about how that happened in terms of the jump and how high you would have gone. And that's where I was. But we'll turn it to you now, Shannon.
Okay. I'm Shannon Ellsworth. I live right next to Slate Canyon. I live in the townhomes that are up top on Slate Canyon Drive. And I've lived here for 5 years. Professionally, part of my education, my first degree was in landscape architecture and environmental planning. So this is something I think about all the time. I've been thinking about it for decades. It's what I think about at work. It's what I think about when I'm in council meetings. Planning for the built environment and the natural environment is just my 24/7. So it's really exciting to me that we have started to create some momentum around Slate Canyon. And a lot of that is thanks to Conserve Utah Valley. After we had a win at Bridalveil Falls, I said, next stop is Slate Canyon, because Rock Canyon has gotten a lot of investment and it deserves it. And Provo Canyon has gotten a lot of investment and it deserves it. And Slate Canyon deserves investment. And the citizens who live here deserve this investment. It is an incredible canyon. I'm a little hesitant to tell people about it because I don't want them to come and spoil it. And it's just a tranquil place. It's a beautiful canyon. It's pretty steep. It's good cardio. And but it's just lovely. It's beautiful year round. And the trailhead is something, like George mentioned, is more recently been invested in, but there's a multi-phase plan, tentative site plan, that's pretty schematic. It's not set in stone. But that's something that I'm helping the city to dust off and to reevaluate. And no one plan by one citizen is going to make it through the design process, right? Citizens all over can be involved in the design process. And that's something that we're evaluating right now. Our Parks and Rec team is world class. They are the best. So we'll follow their processes and they will hire professionals and they will involve the public. So it'll be exciting to see when something comes of this kind of reevaluation of Slate Canyon and the phased parks approach. One thing I wanted to tell you about is, again, part of my career is writing policy and evaluating and managing environments at the landscape scale. And I've done a lot of work on federal public lands. And what's difficult for me is that the federal government has so much public lands and so little money to manage them. And Provo has a fair amount of land in the foothills, and we just don't always have the budget to manage them. And it's discouraging. And like you, I drive by Slate Canyon, some of these spaces, and I see these old mattresses. I see these old couches. I see graffiti. And it's discouraging. And I report it to the city, and they're doing their best. But until we invest and make it clean and green in a space that's safe for women and children, that has a lot of eyes on it and a lot of people participating there, that we just won't be able to deter crime until we start investing in it. So that's my mission. That's the potential I see in Slate Canyon, is to make it a place that is clean, that is green, that children can walk to. They can cross Slate Canyon Drive. They can play there by themselves without supervision. It's a place where women feel safe running and jogging and hiking by themselves. It's a place where you can mountain bike and you have cell service when you break your collarbone. So yeah, we have a ton of potential at Slate Canyon. We just need citizens to get involved, citizens to push, citizens to focus. The city had a special kind of funding that came through last year because of the CARES Act that enabled us to free up money in other places. That was about $8 million. $6 million of it was already designated to different projects. None of those projects directly impact South Provo, but I am working my butt off to make sure that the balance of that money, part of it comes to South Provo and part of it comes to Slate Canyon. And one more thing I'll say is I want to put in a big plug for the Bonneville Shoreline Trail. Let's make it connect to Springville. Let's make it the premier trail corridor in the county. Please get on board with Bonneville Shoreline Trail. It's just a phenomenal regional multi-county asset, and we need everyone driving so that we can improve that trail and make sure that it is clean and green and safe and beautiful, and like Craig said, here forever. So I'll put my information in the chat. Actually, Adam already did, but please reach out. I'm your neighbor. I live here. I can walk by your house if you want. Give me a call or send me an email if you have questions.
Thanks, Shannon. We really appreciate that. Next, we'll have Christina, who's going to give us a small presentation. So Christina, you can go ahead and unmute, and I'm going to pull up your presentation right now.
Thank you. Thank you to George and Shannon for helping us think through the things that make Slate Canyon so dear to so many of us. We would like to invite all of you to join us for Slate Canyon Saturdays, the last Saturday of each month. And we're kicking it off with Earth Day, April 24th, 9:30 to noon. Join us on our first project. Earth Day 2021 began when two young ladies wanted to do something for the canyon that they love. Another two Centennial Middle School students designed this logo that you see, and this exemplifies our approach to connecting and protecting our canyon. Everyone can do something. We encourage families, groups, and individuals to be part of the effort. Next, sponsored with Provo Parks and Recs Department, Conserve Utah Valley is helping to host Earth Day, and we're inviting volunteers to join us in hauling overgrowth to dumpsters, removing weeds, and improving the landscaping around the trailhead. Next, Volunteers who come can learn more about the canyon because of our wonderful partners. The Monty L. Bean Life Science Museum from Brigham Young University will have education stations. And Katie Knight, if you want to wave to people, she's the education specialist, the Bean Museum. And if Gustavo Ramirez is here, he's a master stonemason, and he'll be teaching us about the stone that Slate Canyon is named for. Next, we also have a project sponsored by another Conserve Utah Valley member, Josh Polson, and he's worked on specialized graffiti removal for natural surfaces. Provo City's tag team and the Wasatch Graffiti Busters will help remove graffiti at Slate Canyon and up the trail. We also envision Art for Social Inclusion, a project to try and find solutions for the underlying causes. And maybe you'll want to join with BYU and UVU professors in a citizen science project as we launch the City Nature Challenge 2021 in documenting the species that live here in Slate Canyon. So on April 24th, 9:30 to noon, Slate Canyon is the place to be. Please join us for Earth Day.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I hope you get a sense of how incredible Christina is. She has been such a great example to us of what one street rep can do. I think she's got the entire South Provo engaged in taking part. I loved what Shannon said in terms of citizens need to get involved, to push, to encourage, to take responsibility. This is not the city and the county's responsibility. This is our responsibility as neighbors. And we need to step up. We need to speak up. And we need to come together. This is one of those topics that we can all come together on. And I just love Christina's excitement for this and her leadership and putting this together. We're all excited about Slate Canyon Saturdays. Please put it in your diary. All right. Well, as we bring this to a close, we wanted to give you a sense of just how incredible all these neighborhoods are. Provo City has been so supportive. The mayor, the city council, members of the city government. This isn't an us and them. We're all working together on this. We're so encouraged. And what makes the difference is you. We need you to be a part of this. So I'm going to ask for you to consider two things in terms of call to action. When you think about becoming part of the Conserve Utah Valley solution, there's two ways. One, we can put the next slide up, Adam, is to help us make Slate Canyon better. Again, this isn't someone else's responsibility. This is us. I will be there. I'm going to have my gloves on. I'm going to do my part. I love that canyon as much as the other wonderful parts of Provo. The way that you can do that, if you go to our website, which is www.conserveutahvalley.org, if you go to projects, you can sign up to be a part of the different things that Christina was talking about. So one thing you can do is that you can go to our website and sign up to be a part. The second thing we'd like you to consider, become a street rep. Street reps do three things. One, they educate themselves and their neighbors. Now, not their neighbors who don't care. Skip the neighbors who don't care. Go to the neighbors who actually do care. The ones that are on this Zoom call. Talk to the neighbors who actually have an interest in protecting and preserving the great things that we have here. The second thing is to speak up. Speak up in emails, in calls, in attending critical public meetings. Your voice matters. And policymakers and the decision makers in our city government want to hear from you. And again, to the extent we do that in a way that is peaceable, is kind, is friendly. Again, this is a wonderful conversation, not an antagonistic thing. And the third thing that we would ask you to consider doing is, as a street rep, is help us find other street reps in your neighborhood, at work, the groups you belong to. It doesn't matter where they are. We need your help in terms of creating finding the street reps. Again, the street reps are this network of people that help us get information out so that things like Slate Canyon Saturday become something that everyone knows about and participates in. So you can see on the screen, if you go to our website, get involved, click on volunteer, you can become a street rep. Our goals in creating a network of street reps have been fairly ambitious. Just a little over a month ago, we decided let's have 100 street reps by March 31st. And thanks to the great work to many of the people who are on this call, we achieved that. Now, we're not going to stop there. We need to scale our street rep network by quadrupling it from where it is now to 400 by the end of May. Now, to do that, we're simply going to need your help. We need more people like yourself who are interested and care about what we're doing. Now, if you do decide to get involved and to volunteer to be a part of what we're doing, whether that's helping out with Slate Canyon Saturday or becoming a street rep, we need you. We need help now. This isn't a let's wait for someone else to fix it. This is something that we as neighbors are going to fix now. With the tidal wave of development that's coming, overdevelopment is assured unless we speak up. We're not anti-development. Of course we need development. We just want to make sure we don't do the wrong kind of development in the wrong places, like Bridal Veil Falls, great example of what not to do. Now, again, if you're indifferent, you would have jumped off the Zoom call a long time ago. We appreciate that you're engaged, that you do care, and we encourage you, join us because we need your help. This is something that we all can come together and do together and make a difference for our children's children. So grateful for all of the people who have played an important part, for the people who serve in our city government, in our city, in elected callings, and all of those thankless jobs and tasks, including the people who put together things like Slate Canyon Saturday, who work overtime, like Christina. Please join us in making this just a wonderful success. Well, Adam, let's go ahead and finish up any time that's left with any Q&A.
Yes, real quickly too, before we do that, and I'm going to give a little bit of specific instruction going into the Q&A. I want to recognize Mayor Kaufusi for joining us today on our call. I saw that you hopped on, so thank you so much for being here. She's been a great help to us in conserving Utah Valley. So we really appreciate it. Yeah. Moving into the question and answer section, as I directed before, how we're going to be doing this is if you have a specific question, please message it to me in the chat. Type it out and send it to me. And I will then go ahead and I will one by one ask you to share that question. And then George, Shannon, Christina, or Craig, whoever feels inclined or feels like you can best answer that question, will give you the opportunity to do so. So you're welcome to start sending those to me. And then if you have follow-ups on your questions too, just so we can keep this organized, if they don't fully answer your question or you want to respond to it, please send that response to me as well. And I'll give you another chance to talk. And that way we can just keep it going.
So Adam, can I just interject for a second? The
Absolutely.
other guidance we'd like to provide is we'd like to focus our discussion on Slate Canyon and the things that are coming up and how we can help. This will not be a grievance session. So if you're all worked up in grievance, there's probably other channels for that. This won't be it. Again, we're coming together to work together. So if you're interested in working towards this solution and being a part of it, you've got questions about how you can do it, this is the place for that. Again, we'll reserve editorial right to take offline any other types of discussions. We want to keep this focused on how we can work together. Thanks,
Craig. I appreciate that. The first question I'd like to get started with was sent to me beforehand. This individual was concerned about the Bonneville Shoreline Trail and had strong opinions on how we can improve it. I think this is mostly directed towards George and Shannon, but how can they get in touch with you and how is the best way for them to share their ideas with you and what they'd like to happen with the Bonneville Shoreline Trail?
I sent my contact information to you, Adam. If you can share that on the chat, would love for people to have my email and phone number. I'm sure Shannon will have something to say. I'll just say, reach out. We would love to have that conversation. And I think, it depends on how far along the Bonneville Shoreline Trail your ideas are, but if they're relevant in particular to the Slate Canyon master plan and potential revisions to that master plan, then it would be a really ideal opportunity to get involved in that discussion so that those ideas can be implemented. But and we know that and I want to echo what Shannon said about our Parks and Rec people. They're really outstanding, and I know that they're very interested and concerned about Bonneville Trail and the many obstacles that they've had to face in getting it into the condition that we would all like to see it in. So I'm sure they would also welcome those ideas. But I think, you know, sending us an email directly and reaching out is a good way to start.
Yeah, I'll just add that the Bonneville Shoreline Trail has the potential to be an incredible regional asset. And a lot of the growth that Utah Valley is seeing is in the south part of the valley. I mean, the south part of the valley is just going to explode in the next 20 years. And we want to make sure that we're connecting our trail south and north. And the Bonneville Shoreline Trail is a very multi-jurisdictional trail. So parts of it are on Forest Service land, parts of it are on state land, the state hospital. A lot of it's on private land. Some of it is in designated wilderness. Some of it's on city land. So these are all obstacles that we're trying to navigate and kind of put this quilt together and get easements and ownership. And we need to keep driving so that we get that ownership, that we get those rights of way, that we get the easements, so that we are continuing this trail that needs to go north and south. And of course there's hiccups and there's property owners, and we're just gonna have to go around. We can't go through, but do everything you can, reach out to us, and we can, you know, we want to hear from you.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate those responses. Craig, we'll let you go next with your question.
Do you mind if I just, Mayor, do you mind if, I don't know if you have audio there. Again, so appreciate your help in everything we've been doing. It's been so helpful. I thought you might have some comments about Slate Canyon as well.
Well, it's because Craig and I visit often. In fact, we've actually decided to do an ongoing, is it every other week, Craig, we just settled on? Every other week we're meeting to discuss this. And just a little bit about Slate Canyon. I was born and raised Provo. My first experience with Slate Canyon was a field trip. We went up there and we gathered slate rock, and took it back down to Wasatch Elementary School and labeled it and looked at it under a microscope. Anyways, I recognize a few of you on the call, and you see me on the trail. I'm out there jogging it often. I've hiked many a time all the way up and around to the pass and dropped down through Rock Canyon and through the onto the face of the Y Mountain. Is just had a funny story. One of my police officers came upstairs and said, we just had to go do a rescue up at Slate Canyon, and the family, they lost their little 8-year-old boy, and the little 8-year-old boy had just taken off. And so the police were called, and they're gathering him, and they found him and found the parents that were so upset. And he said, all the citizens just kept saying, tell the mayor we said hi, she runs Slate Canyon all the time. So I'm really familiar with it. Like I stated in another convention I spoke on about the beauty of our trails, is whenever we move somewhere, I always make sure that I'm within about 15 to 20 minutes of jumping on a trail. I don't care what trailhead. I just want to have access to the trails. That's how much I care about it. And thank you for letting me say a few words, Craig, and thank you everyone who cares and is taking the time to participate in this.
Thank you, Mayor.
Appreciate that. We'll move on to our next question. Angela, we'll turn the time over to you.
Yeah, so I guess this is just a rhetorical question because I kind of already know the answer, but I just wanted Christina to speak to, maybe let people know what some of the other Slate Canyon Saturdays are going to be, so that we can, as street reps, advertise to our friends and family and get them excited about what's coming up, because some things may be of more interest to some people than others.
Angela, thank you for that question. So in May, we'll be doing Purge the Spurge. Myrtle spurge is an invasive species that has escaped from landscape up into the Uinta National Forest, and it's present here in Slate Canyon. And we have worked with the Centennial Middle School science students to make them our purge deputies so that they can help volunteers identify and remove the myrtle spurge from our canyon. That's May 22nd. In June, we have a group of professors and their research students who will be taking excursions. We have some specialists with insects, some with birds, some with native plants. So join us the last Saturday of June for excursions in the canyon. In July, we'll be working on the trail. And in August, we'll be talking about how we share water. Slate Canyon has 4 water tanks. What is the story with water in Slate Canyon? So Central Utah Water Conservancy District at Casey Finlayson is the community outreach specialist, and he'll be there talking to us about water here in Provo City.
Wow, amazing.
Who would not want to spend more time with Christina? She's pretty energetic.
Oh, man, that's just so wonderful. Thank you. Thank you both, Christina and Morgan. Thank you.
Great. Well, we have time just for maybe 1 or 2 more questions. We've got a lot of questions in the chat. So if we don't get to yours by the end, I encourage you to reach out to Craig, me, Shannon, George, or Christina, and we'll do our best to direct you to the people with the answers. But before we wrap up, I want to give Eric a chance. Eric, I'm going to butcher your last name. There's a few Erics in the call. Nygaard, to ask your question.
Yeah, that's close. We say Nygaard, but I think in Norway they would say it the way you said it. But my question is hopefully a quick one. I was just curious, as a point of reference, if we're trying to give feedback on things to do with Slate Canyon, as a starting point, is there a place where we can publicly available to plan the current master plan for Slate Canyon? I don't know if that makes sense, just to kind of know what's the current plan, and then if we have feedback to add onto that.
I can take that question. The plan that was created, it's like I said, it's a schematic site plan. And so there's not a lot of detail, and it was created, I think, in 2012 or 2014. So a number of years ago. And there's been some constraints they've identified since then and some opportunities they've identified since then. So I'm happy to send it out. Shoot me an email. I can send it to you. Just recognize it is schematic, and it could very well change. The Parks and Rec team, like I said, is world-class. They're putting together a small steering committee of people who live around here just to give feedback and say, does this work for you? Does this work for mountain bikers? Does this work for moms? And so that's a process that they're going through methodologically. Was that a word? They're going through this process rigorously. And so then they will, if they think that we need to change it, then they can present these alternatives to us, and it'll be great. It'll be really great. So just send me an email if you want to see that. I can forward it to you.
Great, thanks.
Shannon, would it be possible that we could share that with people through our website too, or would you like to distribute that more on a one-to-one basis?
We could put it on the website, but like I said, it's a draft and it's schematic and it's going to change. And so I don't want to give people false hope that this is what they're buying into.
Makes sense.
Perfect. Thanks, Shannon. Appreciate that. With that, we're actually going to wrap up. I think that's all the time that we have for today. But again, if you have any questions, you have everyone's contact information in the chat, or you can find more on the website. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us. I'd like to just close by saying we need you. Everyone on this call, the way that we can serve Utah Valley is through this open dialogue, through people like you coming on as street reps. We need more than this amount of people too, because this is what's going to help us be able to take those things that we love and put in protection for them. So thank you for being here. We hope to see you next month as well, and to be able to hear from you before then. Appreciate everybody coming today.
In fact, just as a reminder, we do this on the first Thursday at 7 p.m. I'm surprised we didn't get any jokes about this being April 1st. I almost expected people to come on and say, yeah, I know you're just fooling. It's first Thursday of each month, 7 p.m. Again, thank you so much for joining us. Look forward to seeing you next month, or seeing you at Slate Canyon on the 24th. So long, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.